My sister is actually a teacher, and she actually was the first person to come to me and say, have you ever considered autism? And I'm like, you know what? I can see why you say that. But once you get a diagnosis, it was actually a breath of fresh air, because it was like, okay, we knew something was off. We knew something was wrong. We just didn't know what it was. But once we got the diagnosis, we said, okay, now we know. So where do we go from here?
Not knowing exactly what it is, it was frustrating.
It was really, really, really hard for us to explain to our families. So we wouldn't keep him home, but we wouldn't go to family functions, because culturally, a lot of families, it's like if your grandmother is like, hey, your grandson's doing something, stop, or you want to discipline him. And for us, that was really, really hard, because we did things differently at home. And it was hard to explain what was going on with him to other people, because we really didn't know.
And as little as we didn't know, they knew even less.
Right.
And it took me a while. I would have arguments with Stephanie. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I was crying every week. Me and my wife were also very religious. I didn't blame God, never blamed God, but I just never understood why in the world this would happen, to our family. And I just didn't understand autism. It didn't hit me until with the headbanging. It was dangerous type headbanging.
Yeah.
Where he would really throw himself
bang his head on stairs, on wooden chairs.
That's when I realized that he might have a problem.
My friend and family would say, don't let them label your child. And sometimes that makes me a little upset, because people have done their research, no matter what skin color you are.
Yes, it's a label, but the label opens up a lot of different opportunities. That label has opened up so many doors that may not have been opened if he hadn't been diagnosed.
I went through so many phases.
Yeah.
It was like a death for me. It was like somebody died, and I felt as though like I had something to do with this genetically. To me, it was all me. And I was upset. I was angry. I didn't know. I'm about to cry.
Yeah.
My wife told me I cry all the time.
It's hard. As a mom, I think you know certain things about your child that's a little differently than a father.
Yeah.
I was almost a sigh of like relief, because I knew that something was different.
Yeah, I still didn't understand autism. And even when I got the diagnosis, I just thought that was the end of his life. That was the end of his world. He was just going to be how he is for the rest of his life.
Sal's denial, it was hard. It was his son, his only son. He wanted to play baseball, he wanted to play football, basketball, but I definitely knew something, like I said, it just wasn't normal.
His pediatrician kind of helped me out a little bit, because I didn't want for anything to be wrong with my son, obviously. I wanted to have those moments, like a father has with his son, where they wrestle and play and, run around, play football, play catch, and all these things. And I was a little concerned about, being able to experience these things with my son. I also understood that with accepting the diagnosis comes a responsibility as a parent. And before you can get into any kind of programs or anything that can help you out, you have to start at home. And a part of that is just like anything else, you have to accept what the truth actually is.
I think being that there was no specific reason as to why he was autistic was just something that ran through my head, like, oh, I did this.
But I didn't want to tell anyone. I felt like a little embarrassed.
You didn't want nobody to look at him differently.
I just felt like maybe I did something wrong. Like I wasn't helping them enough or teaching them enough or talking to them enough. Like I wasn't being a good mom to them.
I punished myself. I felt guilty that I could have done more.
or that there was something that I wasn't doing. And if I would have known earlier, I would have known the right way to go about things and how to teach them things.
I started to question, is there something I did wrong during my pregnancy maybe? Because I had a high-risk pregnancy with her. She was a premature baby. So I actually was like, does prematurity have something to do with autism, or is it something that I didn't do during my pregnancy? Is there something I should have been eating during my pregnancy that I wasn't?
Was there something I ate? Was there something I did? Yes, you try to find blame, in yourself. It's nothing you can avoid, or there's nothing you can do
to prevent it. Yeah, it's something that just kind of happens. It's still in its stages where doctors are trying to figure out exactly why autism occurs and how autism occurs exactly. But it's uncharted waters right now.
I guess as a parent, you always have this vision for your child.
Yes.
And you vision like proms and weddings and them having children. And with autism, some of that halts. And for me, I really just flipped into this day-by-day mentality. I didn't look for 10 years down the road. I looked for today. Timmy had a great day today. And if it was a bad day, it was a bad day. You have bad days.
I found the things that he loved to do. I never focused on the things that he couldn't do.
That's probably the best thing somebody can ever say to you when dealing with a stressful situation like this, is that they're proud of you.
My mom was more like sympathetic. She was like, he's going to be fine, it's going to be good, he's going to get the right teachers.
Stage where I am now, which I'm just so overly into, just helpful and just trying to do everything I can. Just getting Timothy the best possible services I can, because I want him to be the best person he can be.
It's not about how much money you spend. It's about how much time you spend.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what it's about.
He looks at you now and he sits with you, and it's this whole head-eye communication that we worked on for so long.
He's really improved since he was younger. He talks a lot more, he eats more foods and everything.
For all those families out there, just love your children, give them time. Early intervention is crucial.
Early intervention is the key.
Early intervention is definitely
and the longer that you wait, the more difficult of a task that you'll have ahead of you.
Okay. So since the diagnosis, and now that we know they have autism, we don't argue as much. Well, we don't argue.
Yeah, more patience.
Over that anymore. Yeah, we have more patience.
You have to think that it's not about you, about your feelings or what you think people are going to think about you. Not being embarrassed. It's not about being embarrassed. It's solely about your child and getting help, because one day you might not be there to help them.
And there are things you can do in between denial, in between acceptance, and all the way up into triumph.
With autism, there is hope.
So there is hope.
Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder that includes differences in social interactions, communication, and behaviors. Some people with autism need a lot of help in their daily lives, others need less.
From 2005 to 2011, the number of people identified with autism in Philadelphia more than doubled. By 2012, autism affected 1 in 68 children across the United States. Today, People with autism live in every country in the world.
Screening to determine whether a child is at risk for autism can start as early as 1 year. Boys and girls can have autism, but it is 5 times more common in boys.
There are no specific laboratory tests to diagnose autism, such as blood tests or brain scan. There are trained specialists who can diagnose autism through an interview or observing behaviors.
Early intensive behavioral intervention can greatly improve learning and living outcomes for children with autism.
Find out where you can get help or information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The end.
The end.